England already one step closer to the knockout stages after an impressive opening match up against Croatia. Who stood out? Who didn't? We'll take a little look next. That's right, folks, back once again with another match review. This time looking back at England's opening game in Euro 2020 up against Croatia, and we'll get to that in just 1 second. If you're new to the channel, where the heck have you been, boys? Smash your subscribe button, get your bang up to date. It's the race to 20k. Of course, get your bang up to date with all things Euro related, Blackburn Rovers related, Copa America related. We've got it all here. Under one Ruski, that's right, boys and girls. Croatia, of course, failed to show up today out in Group D. And England, of course, were good in parts, but ultimately took home all 3 points. And, of course, we'll get to that in a minute. A big shout out to the VIPs. They are the patrons. Thank you for your continued support as we try to get up to 20k and beyond. So let's take a look at the game then, and shall we, of course, and have a bit of a recap. So England did okay, ultimately winning 1-0, the one only goal coming from Raheem Sterling late on in that match. I've got it clocked in at around about, what minute was it? 57th minute. Raheem Sterling with the goal. Possession, though, very, very even, 50% either side. Of course, England did look the more creative, definitely in the early stages. Phil Foden hit the post as well. Of course, could have gave that Gaza look, the debut for the Gaza look with the goal, but unfortunately hit the woodwork. To be fair, the forward line from England was a bit rough. I don't think Harry Kane was match fit. He looked a bit, well, I won't say match fit, but it just looked a bit off the pace heading into this one. Not really as clinical as we've known in the past, but hey, it's 3 points. It's job half done. You're already 1 step closer. I think you need a point to guarantee it, but of course you've already probably beaten your biggest opponent for that top spot with this 1-0 win. And as you can see, some of the stats here, let's take a look at a bit. A pass success rate, both of you guys, 84% success rate with your passes. That's how clinical they were in midfield. Of course, England, they did have 582 touches, did England, 454 passes, compared to Croatia's 595 with 458 successes with their passes as well. Dribbles was more coming down for England, of course, 15 dribbles compared to the 9 from Croatia. And as I said about the shots, 8 apiece shots wise, it was very even when you break it down. We'll have a look at the shot grid in just a second. But 4 of them were off target for England, 5 were off target for Croatia. And of course, it did hit that woodwork the one time. So of course, England are represented here by the orange. That's right. Of course, as you can see, some of the shot grid here, a lot on, quite a few hot spots on target. As for Croatia, a lot of long range efforts as well. Most within touching yard distance of the 16-yard area. Not many scrappy dappy do efforts. As for England, they were a bit more clinical within the 16-yard box, but again, a couple of long range efforts as well. Take a look at the heat maps. Of course, England are represented here. Of course, again, covered a lot of terrain today. Did England spread? It's quite spread out, nicely spread out. It's not favouring down the left hand side or the right hand side. As for Croatia, a bit more sporadic. Again, not really preferring this left side of defence here, preferring to come down the right hand side. Right here, right now, of course, as you see the lineup here, we'll take a look at it here. Of course, Jordan Pickford between the sticks. Kieran Trippier did start at left back. We had Tyrone Mings, John Stones, and of course Kyle Walker at the right back. Declan Rice, Calvin Phillips made up the defensive midfield slot. So they've got their own match ratings here. We'll give you mine in a minute. Sterling, of course, the 3-man midfield with Mason Mount, Phil Foden, and Harry Kane up top. Of course, Sterling with the goal. Bit of a yellow card there for Foden. Not really his best display. Quite underwhelmed, it looks like, from their point of view. As for the opposition, of course, Dominic Likovakovic between the sticks. Gravadal at the back. We've got Kalsakar, Dominic Vidja, and Vashalko at the right back. We've got Kovacic, Brozovic, and Modric making a 3-man midfield. Good, strong midfield on paper, but they just didn't bring the game today. Perisic, Ante Rebic, and Kalinic up top. As for my match ratings, well, here we go. Kicking it off with Pickford. I thought he had a 5. I don't think he was active. He was a bit bland today. Didn't really stand out for stuff. There was a couple of little areas I thought he was a bit wobbly at, a bit concerning. But to be fair, hey, the performance wasn't stellar. It wasn't stellar. I think England will step it up for the Scots, of course. Battle of Britain and all that kind of stuff. Revisiting 96. And I think they will put on a bit of a display on Friday to get themselves not only win the game, but also go through to the next stages. So this one was just about getting the wheels moving, get the momentum going, and of course look forward to the next couple of games. And again, if they win against the Scots, they will be through, and of course they can rest up against the Czechs. We might see some of the fringe players getting some game time as well. But anyway, 5 for Pickford, 6 for Mings, 6 for Stones. Again, they might be playing again against Scotland. I had no concerns with them today for on an England's point of view. Trippier, of course, at left back, Kyle Walker at right back, Declan Rice, Calvin Phillips, who I thought was my man of the match, Phil Foden alongside Sterling and Mason Mount. So I can't skip on. Trippier with a 7, Walker with a 6, Rice with a 6, Phillips with an 8, Foden with a 7, Sterling with an 8, Mason Mount with a 6, and Harry Kane with a 5. Of course, Captain Kane, of course, and he could be on the move this summer. Of course, as for Croatian, we've got Dominic Levakovic, he had a 5, Krasnikar with a 5, Vida with a 5, Gravado with a 5 as well, Vashoka with a 6, Brozovic with a 5, Modric with a 6, Kovacic with a 5, Perisic with a 5, Kadimic with a 5, and Rebic with a big fat 4. They weren't that good. It was a mundane kind of game. It wasn't exciting. The start was good by England, but they failed to carry that momentum into the second half. We did see the Jude Bellingham coming on at 17 years of age, absolutely crazy. Marcus Rashford and Calvert-Lewin also got some minutes. As for the Croatian, we saw the likes of Pasalic, Vlasic, Brakalko and Petrovic coming on again, but to little or no avail. Meanwhile, what's been going on social media? We'll take a little look then, shall we? Of course, some familiar names from the Rovers guys. Mike Delap Diaz, should we say. Tight, tense and far from free-flowing, but that was some very strong and dependable defending in the last 20 minutes or so. Great start, Phillips, man of the match. Meanwhile, Miles Jacobson, of course, from Sports Interactive Days. Great performance, spot on tactically and selection-wise by Gareth. Chris Martin said, good win, decent performance, first 3 points on the board. Bring on the Scots, they say. Elliot Bennett, of course, Rover for the time being. Calvin Phillips, outstanding performance, man of the match for me. Ian Herbert, of course, familiar in the face with the Rovers boys. Scrappy, but who cares? England. Josh Rees said, shite game. Phillips bossed it. Croatia played at a snail's pace. Worst game of the tournament so far. It's controversial. Darlington and Sinwengi said Calvin Willis was the architect of the game. He is English Pirlo. And Tocker said Phillips. He was incredible. Sterling, brilliant too. Meanwhile, let's take a little look at the group then, shall we? Of course, England are top. Of course, Scotland and the Czechs will be in action tomorrow. We'll have that game live on the channel, of course. Watch along. Meanwhile, England will be taking on Scotland on Friday, the 18th of June, before wrapping up Tuesday, 22nd of June, up against the Czechs. And again, they could be already there at that point. As for Croatia, they take on the Czechs next. Must-win territory already for the Croatians. As for their last match, they'll take on Scotland on the 22nd of June. So what do you think about that, boys and girls? What do you think about that? Be sure to give the video some love and smash the old thumbs up, smash the old subscribe, and of course get in the old description. Check me out on Twitter, Twitch, Facebook, and of course Patreon if you want to support the channel in another way. We're on the road to 20k, and hopefully you can make that magical. Well, there is a number up there, but of course it doesn't really matter. Yeah, looking forward to seeing England next against Scotland. I'm going to be wearing my Scotland guys on Friday, so we look forward to that. We'll have a preview of that as well, probably in the next 24, 36 hours, something like that. So make sure you stick around for that. But yeah, England, okay, they got the wheels moving. They look good. They've got the makings of it. But what about the defence? Not really tested today against the Croatians. And I think if they were to be facing a bigger boy, a Spanish, a Portuguese, a French, a Germans, then I think it might be a little bit of a different story. Is it coming home? Not yet, but it could be. Until then, I'm out.